afternoon. I think we're going to make a start. I believe there's one or two others on the way, but we'll make a start anyway. Hopefully all refueled after lunch now into our afternoon sessions. But welcome to this session on making the most or more effective use of school estates, and really going to focus on some of the estate strategy as well as some of the practical implications of the estate in a moment. My name's Andrew Dutton. I'm the education sector leader at Arcadis, and I'm joined by a panel who I'll ask to introduce themselves just now. We've got, perhaps if we go Lindsay, Nathan, and then James.
So, good afternoon. I'm Lindsay Harris, Deputy Director in the Education Estates Directorate at DFE.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Odom, Director of Estates and Place Planning for Discovery Trust.
Good afternoon. James Murphy from Arcadis, Associate Director and Education Sector Lead for Estates.
Good, and welcome everyone that's coming in just now. So we'll go to a couple of presentations in a moment. Firstly James and then Nathan, and then we'll have a bit of discussion at the end, hopefully led by yourselves. But just to set the scene, and this is not new, I've heard it already today, 22,000 schools across England, 64,000 blocks, and £11 billion condition backlog, which was picked up in the first round of the condition data collection programme. 81% of schools have reported asbestos, and that has all led into investment over recent years. It's been about 15 billion since 2015, 1.8 billion in 2003. And of course there's the school rebuild programme, which has had a lot of attention recently. 500 schools to be rebuilt over 10 years. I guess the context of all of that is there's an awful lot to do, and when you take the rebuild programme, those 500 schools are a relatively small percentage of the entire estate. So that means that strategic estates management and getting the most out of the existing estate, managing the existing estate in an effective and a safe way is really, really important. And that's what we just want to cover over this session. So I'll perhaps just hand over to James to take us through that.
Thanks, Andrew. Get the right slide, which is a good start. Yeah, just to give a bit more insight around the key challenges actually that schools and trusts are facing, which won't be a surprise to anybody in the room, I'm sure, but taking some of the key findings from the Capital Advisors Programme, which comprised 136 academy trusts across the country. What we've seen was a consistency in challenges out there, predominantly facing cost, estate risks, resource and capability challenges, but also observations around difficulties in understanding how spaces were being used across the estate, a real lack of data around that. So in terms of cost, well, we've commonly seen strained budgets as a result of rising energy, wage increases and construction costs going up, which have all had a massive impact actually on available budgets to invest across the estate. Just in terms of actual estate risks, well, we commonly seen challenges with the ability to firstly identify priorities and issues across the estate, having the data available to identify what is a problem and what is a priority. And then secondly, once you've got all of that data, how do you effectively prioritise it in terms of, I've got a lot of risks, I've got a lot of issues, but very limited resources and funds available. So where do I spend the money that we've got in an effective way? Then there were resource and capability challenges, particularly around juggling multiple roles, which I'm sure everybody in this room is doing at present. Lacking that headspace to think more strategically around the estate and make more innovative and informed decisions, but also around having challenges and being able to access the relevant expert advice and support where need be, just to fill the gaps that you might have within the organisation. And then finally was around space utilisation. Over 90% of trusts that participate in the programme actually didn't have the level of data available to demonstrate whether their buildings were being used optimally. So they couldn't say whether all their spaces were being used efficiently and effectively. And also didn't have the data in place to be able to advise whether those spaces could be repurposed for other means. So there's a lot of SCND need out there at the moment for prisons, a lot of nursery provisions needed. What opportunities have you got across the estate to fit and repurpose these spaces, or dispose of them or repurpose them to bring some revenue into the organisation, which is always useful. So combined, a real mix of challenges there, and missed opportunities to address risk, reduce costs and drive added value across the teaching and learning environment. Okay, so what are some of the mechanisms to really address and mitigate these challenges moving forward? And that's all comprised around making better use and more effective use of your school estate. Well, actually, step one is all about starting off by being more strategic in how you manage the estate, because it's absolutely vital. Every penny spent across the estate is either reducing risk or adding value to the teaching and learning environment. So you really need to set out what your key needs, requirements and expectations are, as well as aspirations across the estate. And that actually starts off with setting out what we call an estate vision. And that will set out what you want to achieve across the estate to effectively support your education vision. So, for example, if your education vision sets out collaborative spaces, boosting pupil confidence and all that stuff, how does your buildings and facilities respond to that? Is it open plan layouts? What digital tools and techniques are in place? What facilities? So all of that stuff, there really should be a connectivity between that across the estate. Sitting underneath your estate vision is your estate strategy. And that sets out where your estate is now and where it needs to be in the future to really underpin what your aspirations are. And the estate strategy is the user guide, if you like, of setting out what the key priorities and expectations are and ensuring that everybody's rowing in the right direction to achieve that. And then sitting underneath your estate strategy is your asset management plan. And this sets out the key detail and the specifics of what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it across the estate. Examples include what types of projects you'll be undertaking and when you'll be undertaking them. So we could be replacing the roof at this school, the boiler at this school, but actually we're developing a nursery provision at this other school to really underpin the education vision. So having all this in place will help your estate to work in harmony with the education requirements of your organisation. But nevertheless, it's essential to have accurate and up-to-date estate data in place to really emphasise where your priorities lie, and what's a must-have now and what maybe is a nice-to-have in the future that you can dedicate your resources and funds to at another time. So just moving on to step two. So we set out the strategy. And as I've just mentioned then, it's all about getting to know your estate more efficiently and more effectively. So once again, it's all about ensuring that every penny invested either addresses risk or adds value to the teaching and learning environment. I'll just finish that slide off there. But getting to know your estate requires a whole host of information and data from multiple sources, such as condition survey information, energy and decarbonisation requirements, space utilisation, as mentioned before, and also taking a view of how your buildings are operating from your statutory compliance and maintenance data as well. That gives you a real good picture of where your estate is presently. And what this will do is help you to identify where to invest, when to invest, and also how to invest across your estate, once again, based on the resources and funds that you've got available to you. Now, the priorities should always surround the safe, dry and warm aspects to really add value to the estate, address risks, and so on and so forth. And in the longer term, focus on enhancements, moving forward. Now, what this will help you to do is to identify and address key risks early across your estate. So it will reduce the likelihood of unforeseen failures happening. That boiler fails in November once you've spent all your funds on redecorating 6 classrooms. It's not the greatest thing in the world. So it just gives you the intelligence of where your estate is and what the needs are. Well, having that plan in place will also help you to plan and prioritise what projects you want to do early based on the budget you've got. So you can speak to the market early, speak to contractors. You don't have to do all your projects in the summer holidays. It's more expensive. And it helps you to reduce risk as well across the estate. It also helps you to manage stakeholder expectations through something we call data-led decision-making. So it gets more of a challenge. It wasn't somebody's opinion why we replaced the roof at that school or replaced the boilers at that school. There's criteria in place. It's based on what the data is telling us. So that really helps to manage expectations across the organisation. And then step 3 is about not overlooking the benefits of energy efficiency and sustainability. And we know it's challenging. You know, there's not enough funding out there to address condition, never mind all of the sustainability and carbon reduction aspects. But we've got to be more innovative and clever in how we make decisions moving forward. So this ultimately relies on a number of steps, actually, which I've showcased there. It's all about getting an understanding of your current energy usage and activities across your estate. That's the baseline data. What are we using? How are we using buildings? And so on and so forth. Once you've got that data, it's about understanding what improvement plans you need to put in place. And then setting out clear plans and ambitions to drive these improvements moving forward. So it doesn't cost any more money to think differently around how you decarbonise the estate. You know, there's always opportunities to build that into the curriculum, you know, getting pupils involved, more sustainable cultures, so on and so forth. Just stepping back and thinking, what are we doing here? Are we promoting what we're doing across the school? Now, the key point to make here is we mentioned the I'm on the wrong slide. We mentioned the asset management plan before. It's important not to isolate sustainability and energy away from condition, because what you'll often find is you can actually get both done at the same time. You know, replacing roofs, replacing windows, boilers, it will often address condition issues, but it also helps you to save energy and reduce carbon as well. So really map that out. And quite commonly, it can help to make decisions. You know, I think we've all been there where you've got a limited budget and you could have 2 projects that you're and ahhing and what one to prioritise. One could be a roof and one could be boilers. We can't afford both, but actually what you might find is if you replace the boilers, that will save X amount and do this, that and the other. And maybe the roof can be patch repaired until next year because there's more value in replacing the heating system right now than the roof. So it can help you to make more data-led decision making. And then finally, it's around seeking every opportunity to promote more sustainability to staff and pupils as well. There's real opportunities around that. That could be, you know, you build an extension, put some sustainable drainage systems in, some different types of planting, bug hotels. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it just helps connect the indoor to the outdoor environment for curriculum purposes. And I've got a couple of examples at the end of the session that I'll run through in more detail. So just on to step 4. Well, this is all about maintaining your estate effectively, which is essential, really. Because if we don't maintain our buildings and assets effectively, we tend to fail more often and quite unpredictably as well. And that causes quite a lot of disruption and takes preset funds away to spend on other things. So you've now identified you want to replace X, Y, and Z across the school, you want to build this nursery, and then the boilers fail. And now everything's diverted away. Or even worse, you've already spent the funds and the boilers fail, and you're thinking, where are we going to get the money from? So using that maintenance data is absolutely pivotal. So there's a number of steps to this as well, as shown on the slide. But first and foremost, it's about understanding your compliance and maintenance obligations across your estate. So are you staying safe, legal and compliant? Do you know that? Then it's about delivering to them through competent persons, whether you do that in-house or bring in specialists to do that. They're the basics, but there's opportunities to save costs and reduce disruption, etc. And that's around, you know, do you really need 6 fire alarm providers servicing 6 different schools in a local region? Is the opportunities to re-procure that, to combine the services? You're now managing 1 contract and not 6. You know, you're getting economies of scale. So there's ways and methods of seeking more added value around that. But then finally, it's really important to ensure that your operational data is being captured, reviewed, and built into your asset management plan. Now, condition surveys are absolutely essential. You know, they give you a really good picture of what your estate needs, but they do that at that time, on that date. Your operational data will help you top that up in the future. So it's really important to keep on using that operational data to inform what your priorities are. Sticking with the boiler example that I've used multiple times, the condition survey might say 3 to 5 years you need to replace that boiler. Well, the gas engineer's been in this month, had the panel off and said, actually, that's going to fail in the next 4 to 5 months. That gives you the opportunity to say, okay, we'll reprofile our priority list and put funds towards that to avoid it failing later on in the year and all the budget's been spent. So it's really important then to get that operational data into your asset management planning. So there's 4 key principles, 4 key steps there to really, emphasise the importance of getting the best use of your estate. But it's really important actually to give some real life benefits and outcomes from adopting these processes and practices. So just on the screen there, we can see a number of benefits and outcomes. I'll explain my way through that now. So we can see energy and carbon reduction. So adopting these approaches can really help decarbonise, reduce energy, and build more sustainable cultures, around schools and ways of operating. Really underpinning that with getting pupils and staff involved. Really important. Big opportunities around the estate for that. Better value for money through various techniques, through project delivery, energy cost savings, operational savings. There's real opportunities around that. But actually better risk management. If you've got a really good understanding of your estate, you can identify and manage risks accordingly. So it reduces the likelihood of those disruptions happening and funds being permitted in other areas. And then you've got a plan of action around building use, to really understand how your building is being used. Do you really need to build that extension, or can you remodel for half the price because you've already got the space available to you? So that's really important as well. And just on the 3 images shown there, so the far left image is a graph from the Capital Advisors programme that I mentioned earlier on. And that was just based on some feedback of estimated cost savings from participating trusts. And we can see it's in the millions there from adopting these good practices across their estate. And that's split across energy, project delivery cost savings, and also operational and maintenance savings too. The image in the middle was actually a trust that wanted to build an extension to put in a nursery within one of their schools. They undertook an assessment of their current building and identified that they had the space already. So rather than spending the £380,000 to build the extension, £125,000 was spent to remodel and create a really good space such as this. That saved them a fortune just by stepping back and taking a view of what they've got. And just on the right image there, that was a school extension where the trust engaged pupils and staff and the contract to do some localised planting, really good for the curriculum, connects the outdoors and the indoors free of charge. And actually, there was a couple of bug hotels put in there, some different varieties of planting local to the area. And now the school are maintaining that area as part of their curriculum. So it didn't cost any more money, it just stepping back and taking a view of how we can add value across the estate. So thank you. Hopefully that gives a good set of principles for getting the best use of your estate across cost savings, risk reduction, more resource and capability development. I'll just hand over to Nathan now. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Thank you, James, for that. We just heard some really good information from James about managing the estate and all the important parts of sustainability and the effectiveness of that. But I'd like to come to you from a different perspective. I come from a school, and some of the things that Discovery are doing and how we're managing our estate and how we're generating some income, some much needed income and revenue to support our schools and then support our children. So bear with me a second. So just a quick note on who we are. We are a Leicestershire multi-academy trust. We formed in 2012, 2 primary schools coming together to form a MAT. We're currently 15 primary schools and 3 special schools over 3 local authority areas. We have circa around 5,500 pupils, and I'm pleased to say that we have a community college and a 4th special school joining us voluntarily, coming to us in 2025. So we'll be a 20-place MAT in Leicestershire. The Discovery approach about how we sort of maximise our estate, I've listed it into 4 areas really to try and identify what we do, and I'm sort of set to outline each one of these in turn and take some questions at the end. But we can split these down into 4 areas around preschool provision, wraparound care, holiday provisions and community use and partnerships. So our extended services strategy is rooted in sort of 3 key principles: that we want every child to have opportunity to access wraparound care, provide quality provision for families where parents and carers, that they're assured that their children are looked after when they're in our care in the summer and before and after school, and ensure that all our activities are rich and stimulating and encourage life skills as well. So we want to move away from it just being childcare. We want children to learn, we want children to have fun. So, developing out, expanding our preschool provisions. We've got 9 preschools in the trust. Some of those we've started ourselves, some of those we've took over from community schools that they were sure start and they had the risk of closing, and we took them over and we've had to tube the staff over. There's been various ways we've created preschools. We have aspirations to open 2 more, utilising surplus space in schools, so very much to what James was saying around repurposing and remodelling space to create spaces. And we would like to move towards, and we are moving towards, 52 weeks provision for children, for these provisions where there's a need for families. And just to sort of strengthen what James was saying around they're not the best photos, but it'll give you some sense of scale around repurpose a school. This is Walden Hill Primary School. This was dead space. This was just one that was finishing. There's another room to the side of that. Don't worry, I'm not putting 30 kids in that, just in that one space. And then we created some outdoor space. This is a one form entry primary school. It was struggling for numbers. It had been, we heard about falling roles. Leicestershire is not is affected by falling roles. So creating a preschool, this school is now oversubscribed. This preschool is also got a waiting list as well. So it's the lifeblood of that school. It really, really helps. And this is Greystoke Primary School. We worked with the local authority. This was a mixture of basic need funding, Section 106 funding, that the school it had a really weird pan of 25. So we took it to 30 and we sort of remodelled the school to take it to a 422 form-entry school, but then worked with the local authority to create a class base. And that class base we made into a preschool. We've got our lovely building there. Again, that's oversubscribed. It's got a waiting list, and it's a really good, and parents love it, and it attracts parents to school. So Discovery Holiday Camps is something that has been is developing to a bit of a beast for us in Discovery. First of all, when schools were started and come to Discovery, there was little coordination. So schools did their own thing. Some schools did it, some schools didn't do it. There was no really coordination around it. And actually, we've started something that we're really excited about, and it's going to continue to grow. And I'm happy to share with you. I've put the link on there for Discovery Holiday Camps. You can find that in the slides going out. And this is just a very small selection of photos that we can pull. But we do a whole host of activities in our holiday camps. So we have cooking, and I just want to give you some sense of holiday activity funds. We do cooking lessons with children with a trained chef, George, who works in one of our schools, and then the children will learn cooking skills, and then they take home that cooking ingredients to their families. And so the idea is that the children can cook with their families, and we can develop provision that way. It's really good. So, Discovery Holiday Camps, what does this mean for estates and for me as a director? These are, out of our 15 primary schools, I have 10 holiday camps happening over 2025. Guess where I want to do all my work in those schools than there. So that's the challenge. Greystoke, Kibworth. So I'll come on to a bit about the challenges of how this runs and the practicalities of managing these holiday camps. But it is our ambition for holiday camps in all of our Discovery schools, or at least children have the access to be able to access a holiday camp in a Discovery school. It's not always possible because there's just not demand. We can't get staff. There's different reasons, but we want to be able to make sure that there's equity and children can access a holiday camp in one of our schools. So what does this mean for Discovery in terms of funding and what we can do? We make and try to make best effort to go for all open funding, that was about external funding. So OSF, holiday camps, half funding, Breakfast Club early adopters. We've got 14 schools that are early adopters. We're applying for childcare expansion grants to open 2 more provisions and so forth. We really do try and make the best out of that. But I show you 2 schools that, just to give you some sense of this, I could present a lot of figures here, but School A is a 2 form entry primary school in just on the outskirts of Leicester. That is just their after school and breakfast club, and that's topping at around £116,000 income for that school, just that one school. And then School B is a 2 form entry, South Leicestershire going towards Northamptonshire, and that's about £141,000. Our current estimations is that with all of our holiday camps and all of our activities, that the wraparound care, that it will be bringing an income of estimate of about £1.1 million. And that, to us, is the equivalent of another one form-entry primary school in our trust. It's massive. It's huge for us. And everything that we want to do, we want to make that to a 2 form-entry primary school, and that's the income. Now, a lot of that goes on staff, 80% in revenue, but that brings in general income that we can, repurpose back into our trust and into education and learning as well. It's quite a lot. So I show this is that other schools can do this. If you're a single MAT or a single academy trust or a group of schools, you can put this in, and there's opportunities there to generate that surplus and maximise your school estate. So these things are 2 things that are new to us, that we've been started in 2024, which is great. So we've had 2 community fun days. These are free of charge. Try to go a bit further than it just being a school fete. We're actually working with a whole range of community partners. We've had the fire brigade there. We've had mini beasts, snakes, roller skating, face painting. It's great. We've had some fun. Children love it. Families love it. We attract families, we raise the profile of the school, and we get some really good outcomes, and the feedback has been fantastic. So we've done 2 last year, we've got 3 planned this year. We're focusing in our schools in the most high deprivation areas to try and attract those families and try and speak to those families, attract parents and get some understanding. And we're also doing birthday parties, which is really interesting, which is great. So you can see there my colleague Lee, who's great on the roller skates, that's part of his job, is that we do roller skate parties, but we utilise and maximise our school hall, our production kitchen, so we can do birthday party food. We've got, in the summer, we intend to be able to do outdoor activities and have birthday parties, do affordable birthday parties for families, and we're hoping that we can attract families that way. So again, another idea, something hopefully maybe you want to take away, something you might want to consider in your own schools and your own organisations. So future opportunities. So we want to expand evenings and weekend school facility hiring. I think we can do a lot with clubs that want to use our halls. We can see that there's opportunities there. Build opportunities and partnerships with local groups such as Scouts and local sporting groups. That's a bit untapped at the moment, if I'm honest. There's things there that we could do with the Scouts. We've had conversations, but there's more we want to do. Seek lottery funding, Sport England. We would all love a mugger pitch. But if we could use that and actually bring that into our portfolio. Again, strengthen partnerships with other groups and just seeing who's out there trying to be a community school, be a community trust, who wants to work with us, who can provide us services for children where there could be mutual benefit as well, maximising. We might get a little bit of income, we might be able to provide some services for children and so forth as ideas. And maybe this is a little bit specific to discovery, but we are creating SEND places in mainstream schools. Obviously, we've got 3, soon to be 4 special schools, so that might not be appropriate for every school there, but there is an opportunity there to provide SENS places. If anyone wants to have a chat about that, please catch me afterwards. I'm happy to talk about that. So the challenges, so the reality of this, it sounds all great. Extended services and our SEA capital programme coexisting. I have a summer full of kids in schools when I'm trying to do roofs and fire doors and remove asbestos, and it's really challenging, it's really hard, it makes a hard job harder, but as you can see, it brings a lot of benefit to our trust, and it really does, it's really important to us. So a lot of learning for myself and my team is to make sure that we are managing that situation. It does add a layer of complexity. We have to manage the risk. We have had issues where contractors don't want to work with that. They like the idea of the traditional, that school's shut, they wanted the free rein and, working with kids on sites and doing construction zones. It adds pressure, but now we've got a good group of contractors that are on board and working with us, and it just takes a lot of planning, really, just to say, and a lot of forward planning about what works are going to go on. So where I say that a school's not going to be open, I have to make sure it's not open, and we do some works in that school, and we have the plan. We've created a bit of a monster in terms of this, so recruiting staff, additional management time. This is a little bit outside of the sort of normal of running schools. It's a bit of it's created a bit of a beast, but it's good, but it takes additional management time. and we're creating a central function to manage this. That providing equity across all our schools and ensuring sustainability. We've got 3 special schools, soon to be 4. How do we provide the same level of service for those children and those families as well? And that's a challenge. That really is a challenge when you've got children that are one-to-ones, but they don't get funded for after school, and that's hard. And how are we doing that? But you've seen some of the income that we've generated. We're trying to offset some of that, that income, so we can enable that, so we can pump that back into the system. And increase expectations for families. They love it, but they want more and more and more. And so if we don't run a club because I need to re-roof something, or I need some fire doors, it's like, well, why are you not running the club? And they're disappointed. That's good because they want that service from us. That's really but nevertheless, that's a challenge, and we don't want to disappoint families. And if something unexpected happens where I have to close school or something happens, then we let families down. People book holidays, people arrange their lives around our holiday camps, and they need to be consistent, and they need to be sort of assured that they're going to happen. So they're the challenges that we've got. So just go back to the discovery approach, last slide. So the preschools, the wraparound care, and the holiday camps and our community use, the outputs for us, as I see it, or we see it, is that we can give children's outcomes, improve children's outcomes, experience and learning. We can meet our core values of trying to improve activities for our children and experiences. We can raise the schools and the trust community profile across all metrics. Unlock efficiencies in schools as well, so we can actually put a manager over a group of schools to manage these holiday camps instead of each school doing it individually. We can unlock that efficiency. Attract existing and new families meeting their needs, and also becoming the school of choice. We know about the falling roles I've just mentioned, making sure that we are the school of choice in our local area. People want to come to us. And so finally, that generating that surplus to strengthen financial sustainability in your trust as well, so how you can use that income to support your children and your organisations. So that's it from me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nathan. I mean, one way to double your SCA allocation, I suppose, but actually the far more compelling thing is the social value you're able to bring to the community is really inspiring. Just before we come to QA, just one word from Lindsay on before we carry on.
So I'm not going to present because everything I might have said, these guys have already said it, basically. I just wanted to draw attention to DFE's offer in this space, the Good Estate Management for Schools Guide, which I hope you're all familiar with. It's all about taking a strategic approach to managing your estate, and James's whole presentation was effectively a how to do GEMS in practice. So I'm not going to say any more, but happy to answer questions.
So, questions, please. We've got a few minutes. Just over there. Thanks very much. There's a mic coming round. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask really about the future of capital funding for, particularly for condition, not necessarily new schools, but particularly for addressing the condition need that we know is there, especially SIF, because SIF has been around for a long time now. It takes a lot of time and fees in terms of putting the bids together. Often they're not successful due to lack of funding. So is that the best way forward, or is there a plan to look at the system and change it?
Okay, take that one. We are looking again at all our capital funding mechanisms. There's nothing useful I can tell you at this stage. You'll have heard this morning we're waiting for the outcome of the spending review in early June, which will set budgets for 26-27 onwards. We got an increase of 300 million for next year, for 25-26, in the autumn budget. So the total SCA and SIF pot is going up next year from 1.8 billion to 2.1 billion. We're conscious that SIF has its drawbacks and is in some ways not an ideal system, and we will be looking at that again. But the time from when we know our capital allocation from the spending review in June until when we would need to be opening applications in the autumn is very short. So I'm not expecting that we'll have a whole new system for 2025, 26.
Okay. Just one at the front here.
Thank you. If I can direct this question at you right in front of me, it's a bit weird. Nathan, so you put me to shame. I think that I'm busy, and look at the stuff that you're getting on with. I would like to know, when you set out to do some of those additional, that additional usage of the assets, did you set out a business plan for each of those and look at all your costings and your potential return on investment, or did it sort of roll out organically? How would you recommend school business managers kind of push forward with these?
I don't do that all on my own, so I just might say there's a really good team from my colleagues. I think it grew organically, to be honest with you, in terms of we saw that there was a big need for families, and we saw that there were sporadic groups and activities happening in our school, and I think we took a strategic approach that we wanted to grow and expand that. But I think that growth was exponential because it came through, and I think now, over the last year, we've got some coordination. We're building a central service. We've built the websites. We've got the booking systems as well, so we can manage these systems. It's becoming, dare I say, a little bit more professional in terms of being able to get that through, and we can manage expectations quicker. I think my recommendation to be able to start looking at your school is checking with your parents and your families and saying, well, what do they need? What would they like to have? Would they like to see wraparound care? Is there a demand for that? What's your sufficiency data saying from your local authorities for preschool and childcare sufficiency? Is there a huge demand for places? Is there something you could do there? A lot what James said around utilising your building, is there spaces that you could unlock, and then if you can unlock that space, what could that space be used for? And then doing the return on investment for option A, B or C, and then start that way forward. And I don't know if what organisation, if your trustees or your governors, looking at that options and seeing where do they want to take that sort of plan forward, and how to proceed with it. Thank you. Okay.
Going to have to close there at time, but thanks very much for everyone. And if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out in the breaks. I'm sure we can carry on the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.